Hi, my name is Tyler Borthwick, and today I will be discussing longevity and growth in modern-day first-person shooters. To do this, I've decided to analyze Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is a game I've spent years learning the ins and outs of, all in hopes of mastering the peculiar mechanics of the game. This prompted me to ask myself why. Why do I constantly put my spare time into one game when there are a multitude of exciting new games being released constantly? Because of this, I decided to look into the player statistics by month for the game itself, and came to a very interesting revelation. While CSGO has been available for purchase by the public since 2012, it has shown no significant signs of decrease in monthly concurrent players. In fact, Counter-Strike has an average of 11,893 concurrent players per month in 2012, which was the first year of its release. 8 years later, in 2018, this number has risen astronomically, reaching an average of 280,071 monthly concurrent players. Not only has Counter-Strike been able to retain players, but they've actually been able to grow their fan base at a fairly consistent rate. This is shown very clearly with the monthly concurrent players peaking in 2016, 6 years prior to the initial release of the game.
One of the factors that I think greatly influenced the longevity of Counter-Strike is the shooting mechanics of the game itself. In most first-person shooters, you can expect your bullets to travel towards your gun's reticle. This, however, is not the same in Counter-Strike. This is shown in the current clip. When I simply place my reticle on the target and click the trigger, my bullets don't go where I'd like them to go. In order for me to improve my accuracy when playing this game, I have to study the recoil patterns for each individual weapon. This is shown on the screen right now, that red line that my gun is following. If I want to be more accurate when I'm playing, I have to put this pattern to use. Instead of simply pointing my reticle and holding the trigger, I must move my reticle downwards in the pattern for the specific gun. This is also shown with the green dot on the target at the moment. If I follow that green dot as I shoot, my bullets will stay consistent with the head of the target. If I decide to not follow that dot, my bullets will begin to miss my target and my accuracy will greatly decrease. Each weapon in the game takes a lot of time and practice to master, but once you master a weapon, you'll find yourself having a lot more success in-game. By this I mean simply killing enemies instead of them killing you first. I believe the shooting mechanics of Counter-Strike are what greatly separates it from any other first-person shooter. Because of this new skill aspect in the game, it takes players a lot longer to master the game in full, and because of this, they don't want to give up on it yet. I believe the shooting mechanics in Counter-Strike are one of the main factors that led to its increased longevity in the gaming world. Another factor that I believe greatly prolonged Counter-Strike's lifespan is its endless personalization options and its massive dynamic in-game economy. Counter-Strike's developers realized early on that people weren't exactly interested in military-like camouflages. Instead, they wanted something more colorful and more exciting. The Counter-Strike developers started to blast out an immense amount of colorful skins, and with this there was a lot of popularity and a lot of demand. There were a few ways that people could obtain these skins. The first of these ways was opening a case. Cases could be earned by leveling up within games, and these cases could then be opened by purchasing an in-game key for about $3 US. Apart from cases, CSGO players could also buy, sell, or trade their skins on the Steam marketplace. As demand grew and the player base for CSGO rose, prices for these items went up drastically, and to this day, they still hold very high values. For example, knives within the game are very coveted and very sought after. These have never really dropped in price. Although they fluctuate from year to year or month to month, they remain relatively high. Those with more color and better condition are priced higher, obviously, and those with more wear and more basic colors are priced lower. Good example right here. This StatTrak M9 bayonet is over $2,000 Canadian. The reason for this? Simply little to no scuffing and a very bright red finish. I would like to argue that the sheer value of the CSGO economy in itself was enough to increase the longevity of the game. People do not like to shy away from the chance of making a profit, and with prices rising this high, they saw exactly that opportunity. This led to the creation of third-party selling sites and a giant community of Counter-Strike players all looking to buy, sell, and trade their skins. With the creation of this community, it really amplified the desire to have nice skins. Due to this, people were willing to put more time and money into the game. With the marketplace still holding high values in 2018, I believe this is one of the main reasons why people still find time to play this awesome game. With many players having inventories worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, it's almost impossible to move on to another game. My last, but surely not the least, factor in the increased longevity of Counter-Strike is its esports and competitive component. Like most first-person shooters, there is a ranking system embedded within the game. Players can earn a higher rank by either winning more games, getting more kills, or dying less. All of these things will help you increase your rank. As your rank increases, you are paired with players from higher skill levels, and the competition gets a lot tougher. This factor definitely amplifies the desire to be better at the game, which in hand requires more practice and more time commitment. As well as a ranking system within the game, the best of the best could compete with each other at tournaments around the globe. These tournaments are held in massive stadiums and attract people from all over the globe. They also hold hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money. This means that someone can actually be a professional Counter-Strike player and make a full-on living off of playing this game. This in turn created a lot of hype around the game itself and the esports that went with it. People were willing to put more time into the game because they wanted to be good enough to compete with the best of the best, enter these tournaments, and have a chance at the massive prize pools. Because of this, there were many CSGO esports teams created all around the globe. And to this day, there are still new teams popping up fairly consistently. The most recent CSGO Pro event was this year in London. It was called the Face It Major, and it was the 13th Valve-sponsored Counter-Strike Global Offensive Major Championship. It was also the second major of 2018, with a prize pool of $1 million. 24 teams competed in this tournament, but there was only one winner.
In the words of Tamalja Wright, professor of sociology at Loyola University Chicago, when you play a multiplayer FPS video game, like Counter-Strike, you enter a complex social world, a subculture, bringing together all of the problems and possibilities of power relationships dominant in the non-virtual world. And that's exactly what CSGO is, a subculture developed over several years. Counter-Strike is not simply embodied by amazing 21st century graphics and realism like other shooters on the market, but rather the fine-tuned game mechanics that the development team has spent years perfecting. In conclusion, Counter-Strike's vast lifespan was permitted by a sum of factors, all of which promote increased time spent in the game. The game itself is designed to promote a competitive aspect, and with game mechanics being as complex as they are, leads players to spending a tremendous amount of time attempting to fine-tune their skills. In addition to this is the in-game economy, including skins costing close to the price of a used car. This created a reason for people to not move on. Players would develop a sentimental attachment with these skins, much like one would with real-life items. In turn, this makes it a lot harder to forget and move on. Personally, knowing that I have some money tucked away in my inventory makes it impossible to forget about CSGO. Finally, the esports side of Counter-Strike helped to draw in pro players from all over the world. The massive influx of pro teams, along with insanely large prize pools, made CSGO tournaments super exciting to watch, which brought in a younger demographic whose love for the game was born out of watching their favorite pro teams duke it out for the titles.